You may have heard of the term smart contract before. In Solana, this is called a program. Program development in Solana is often in Rust, C, or C++. So one thing you might be wondering is, how do programs fit in the Solana workflow? Let's head to the Solana docs to try to answer this question. This is an overview of the Solana model. As we read through this, a lot of terms might be familiar to you and start making sense. So essentially, an app interacts with a Solana cluster by sending it transactions, which we know have one or more instructions. These instructions are passed to programs, which is what we'll be focusing on today, deployed, which is another thing that we'll be focusing on today, by app developers like us beforehand. An instruction might, for example, tell a program to transfer LAMP ports from one account to another, which we've done, or create an interactive contract that governs how LAMP ports are transferred. Instructions are executed sequentially and atomically for each transaction. If any instruction is invalid, all account changes in the transaction are discarded. Okay, so that is a lot of words that might just be going over your head right now. If that's the case, which it was for me at the start, we're going to go to a visual example that might help to understand things on a high level. This is a very high-level visual explanation of how Solana works. This diagram was made by Solana themselves, and you can visit it on this page here, where it explains a little bit more about Solana development on a deeper level. So let's start at the top left first. This is where on-chain programs are made. We then deploy this, signified by this arrow, to the blockchain for people to use them. Once we deploy it onto here, anyone can communicate with them on the dApp side using things like JS code or the command line interface. This is where you'll submit things like transactions with instructions on the front end. Again, like I mentioned before, this is very high level. So if you want to understand things on an even deeper level, I suggest you head to the doc. This lesson will be focusing on deploying a Hello World program using the command line interface, and then we'll interact with it on the front end. Now, you might be wondering what exactly entails deploying a program. Again, let's head to the docs. To deploy a program, we need to use Solana tools. So this includes things like the command line interface or some JS code, to interact with the on-chain loader to do a couple of things to fully and successfully deploy a program. The first thing that we need to do is initialize a program account. In Solana, almost everything is an account. Accounts can either hold data or hold an executable program, which is what we're doing in this case. The next thing that we need to do is upload the program's shared object to the program account's data buffer. So what does this mean? Whenever we compile a program, we get a file with an extension of .so. And this is what we want to upload to the program account's data buffer. Then we need to verify the uploaded program. Finally, once we've done all these steps, we can mark the program account as executable. Executable essentially means that we've successfully deployed the program, and people can start sending transactions to execute the program. After deployment, anyone can execute the program through means such as interacting with it in the front end. This lesson might be sounding like a huge question mark to you right now, with things like making programs, deploying them, and kind of working on the whole Solana workflow. But don't worry, what we'll be covering in this lesson is solely how to deploy a program. We'll be giving you boilerplate code for the program itself, and instead we'll be focusing on deploying. In fact, when making dApps, the program part is often made a lot easier with Solana's help. Again, in this lesson, we'll be focusing on how to deploy a Hello World program that essentially sends an instruction that says hello. Some parts of the code will be things that you're already familiar with, like creating connections or performing airdrops. And other parts will be new. In the next video, we'll be setting everything up for this big task, so get excited.